Hello and welcome to No Win, No Fee, the show where all 12 of today's contestants are hoping to go home with £4,000, and I'm hoping they don't, because I do not get paid for presenting this show. If one of these people takes the money, I go away with absolutely nothing. Zero. No win, no fee for me. And if you don't believe me, here's my contract. Take a look at what it says. Remuneration. The presenter agrees that he shall receive no fee for providing the services. In fact, the only way I make anything is if these people fail to win the money, then I get £4,000. So let's see who's standing in the way of me and my fee today. There's Howard, Natalie, David, Vic, Nina, Daniel, Vivian, Caroline, Neil, Helen, Pete and Jan. Now, you're all virtual strangers to each other. You met briefly before the show. All you really know about each other are your names. This is a game of assumption and presumption. I'm going to ask you to pick an opponent you think is going to get an answer wrong. So it's sudden death, and it's all about first impressions. There are 12 of you here now. I'm delighted to say that in just a few minutes, there are only going to be 6 of you. And we start by randomly choosing one of you. We're going to select somebody to come up, pick a question, and then find an opponent who's going to get that question wrong. Who's going to start us off today? And it's going to be Pete. We're going to test out how good he is at judging people from first impressions. Pete, join us and choose your question. Happy to be starting us off then?
Not really.
You look fairly confident. Here is a choice of a couple of questions. Which one do you think somebody's going to get wrong, top or bottom?
Bottom.
Do you know the answer to that?
I think I know the answer to that, yeah.
Of course, it's not about what you know, it's about what other people don't know. Somebody gets this right and you're out. Bottom question? Here we go. Study their faces. This is the question Pete has chosen, hopefully to eliminate one of you. In which century did the Suez Canal open? Vic nodded there straight away. Natalie's very impassive. Caroline looks confident. It's up to you though, Pete, don't let me influence you. Who's going to get this one wrong so you can stay in the game?
I'm going to choose Natalie.
Natalie, he thinks you're going to get this question wrong. Come up here and prove him wrong. Face your question. Very bright looking woman. Why did you pick her?
Because she looks very young.
Right. Simply that. Good old-fashioned ageism.
Yeah.
OK, Natalie. He's hoping you're going to get this wrong. If you get it right, you stay in the game. And you force him out. Take your time. In which century did the Suez Canal open? Now, you don't know much about it, do you?
I don't.
A bit on the young side, do you think? How are you feeling, Natalie?
Fine.
Yeah?
Yep.
A lot of money.
It is.
What would you do with £4,000?
I would go shopping and buy a car.
Fantastic. Could even get a matching piercing for the other side, couldn't you? Loads of money. Here's the question for you again. You've got to get it right to stay in the game. In which century did the Suez Canal open?
18th.
The 18th century. The 18th century is the right answer. You're still in the game and we say goodbye to Pete. If you're wrong, he survives. It was opened in the 19th century. Natalie, you are wrong. So well done, Pete. You're through to the next round. And Natalie, been lovely to meet you, but I'm happy to say you're out. So, one person through, one person out. 10 slightly more nervous-looking people dodging the spotlights now. Who's up next to choose a question? And it's going to be Vic. I wonder how good he's going to be at judging people by first impressions. Vic, join me and choose your question. You've seen how it goes. Are you happy to be picking a question or answering a question?
No, I think I prefer to pick one.
Good for you. Then you've got a choice of 2. Which one is somebody here going to get wrong, top or bottom? Think about what little you know about them, the way they look, and then pick a question somebody's going to fail at.
They're good questions. I'll go with the bottom one.
The bottom question. Judge their reactions when they hear it for the first time. You've got to pick somebody who's going to get it wrong so you can stay in the game. Which American city is known as the city of brotherly love? Nina's very stolid looking, stony face. Daniel looks slightly nervous, but he could be bluffing. Howard's thinking. But you got some thinking to do as well, Vic. Who's going to get that one wrong?
I'm going to go with Vivian.
Vivian, he thinks you're going to get this one wrong. Come and face your question. So, why did you go for Vivian?
I don't know. It's a tough question. I think anyone who gets it right is a very clever person.
Here's the question. You've got to get it right to stay in the game. Take your time. Which American city is known as the city of brotherly love?
Philadelphia.
Didn't hesitate, but it could be a big bluff. That sound reasonable to you?
Could well be.
If Philadelphia is right, Vic, you're out. If Vivian's wrong, we're saying goodbye to her. The answer is Philadelphia. Vivian, you're right. Which means you take your place in the next round. And Vic, it's been great fun, but I'm happy to say you're out. Just 4 places left in the next round. Who's going to join me to pick a question, then put that question to somebody who's got to get it wrong? Who's up next? Howard, it's that magic moment when we test out how good a judge of character you are. Join me and choose your question. Sudden death, very tricky. How are you feeling?
Bit nervous.
Okay. Hold those nerves back. Pick a question, top or bottom. Which one is somebody going to get wrong? For you to go ahead, you've got to knock somebody out. Who's it going to be?
I'll try the bottom one.
The bottom question. Sporting question. Study their faces. Who won the men's 100 metres gold medal at the 2000 Olympic Games? Nina's smiling now, though, with a bit of a narrowing of the eyes as well. David, very confident looking, but the choice is yours. Who do you want, Howard?
I'll go for Jan.
Jan, he wants you out. You've got to come down and face your question. What made you reject everybody but Jan? Why her?
Called it sexism. Usually women don't seem to know too much about sport, or not as much as men do.
Having alienated half of the viewing population and cheesed off Jan, you've got to get this one right to stay in the game. Here's the question, take your time. Who won the men's 100 metres gold medal at the 2000 Olympic Games? She looks confident to me. See, I'm kind of objective at this stage. Yeah, I think you're right to be worried, but it doesn't matter to me. I lose one of you, so I'm happy. No pressure on me in this round. So, who won the men's 100 metres gold medal at the 2000 Olympic Games?
It is going to be a guess, I'm afraid. I'll say Linford Christie.
The answer is Maurice Green. So, Jan, you are wrong. So, Howard, you can take your place in the next round. And Jan, commiserations. It's been great fun, but I'm happy to say you're out. OK, halfway through the first round, only 3 places left to head towards my £4,000. Who's up next to pick a question? And it's going to be Neil. He's avoided being selected, but the lights have done it for us. Neil, join us and choose your question. Very tricky, this, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
Bit nerve-wracking, £4,000 at stake. Pick a question somebody's going to get wrong. Top or bottom?
I'll choose the bottom one.
The bottom question. Watch their faces. Only 5 choices in front of you. In distance, which planet is 6th furthest from the sun? Caroline's trying to work it out. Or is she bluffing? What are those first impressions telling you, Neil?
Not a great deal. I'm going to go for Nina.
Nina, he's banking on you getting this wrong. Come on up and prove him wrong. Come and face your question. What is it about her that makes you think she won't know her astronomy?
I think it's a very difficult question anyway. But looking at their faces, I just thought perhaps Nina.
Looks can be deceiving though, can't they? Nina, you've got to get this right to stay in the game. If you do get it right, he's out. Nina, take your time. In distance, which planet is 6th furthest from the sun? She's thinking. You feeling all right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to give me an answer or a couple of options? Have you narrowed it down at all?
I've narrowed it down, but I'm going to give you an answer.
OK, Nina. In distance, which planet is 6th furthest from the sun?
I'll go for Pluto.
Pluto. If Pluto is the correct answer, you stay in the game. If you're wrong, Neil goes through. In fact, Pluto is the furthest away from the sun. Saturn is the 6th furthest. Nina, you are wrong. Which means, Neil, take your place in the next round, and Nina, commiserations, but I'm happy to say you're out. So, just 2 places up for grabs, but you've got to earn them. It's about first impressions. It's also about sudden death. Who's up next to pick a question? And it's Helen, who was nearly chosen to answer Neil's question. Helen, come and pick your own question. Would you have known that? Would you have got through?
No.
So you were lucky there.
Yes.
Will you be lucky now? Your destiny is in your own hands. A choice of 2 questions, top or bottom. Which one is somebody here, the remaining 3 contestants, going to get wrong?
I'll go for the top question.
After a bit of consideration, here's the question Helen has chosen to lay upon one of you. What's the northernmost city in Britain? That's the question. A bit of a swallow there from Caroline, but she's been standing up for a while now. Could just be a bit thirsty.
Yeah.
David's actually smiling now. Who's going to get this wrong for you, Helen?
I'll go for Caroline.
So, Caroline, this is your moment. Come and face your question. Took you a while to rule out the men. Yes. Was it Caroline who caught your eye?
Girl power. I'll go for Caroline.
She wants that girl power to kick you out, Caroline.
Yeah.
Here's your question. Take your time. What's the northernmost city in Britain? She's nodding straight away there, Helen. Not of confidence or bluff, would you say?
I think she's a pretty confident person, actually.
£4,000. A lot of money, Caroline. Take your time. What's the northernmost city in Britain?
Well, the most northern one I can think of is Aberdeen.
Aberdeen. If that's the right answer, Helen's out. If it's the wrong answer, Caroline goes. The northernmost city in Britain is Inverness. Caroline, you are wrong. Which means, Helen, take your place in the next round. And Caroline, I'm delighted to say you're out. So Daniel and David left. But who's going to be answering the question and who's going to be choosing the question? Who's coming up first? And it's David to choose the final question for the final place in the next round. David, join me and choose your question. Now, you've only got the one opponent, but you do have a choice of 2 questions. Which one do you think Daniel is most likely to get wrong? This could win you £4,000. Top or bottom?
The top one.
The top question. Now, Daniel, I'm going to read this. We're going to leave you a few seconds to stay there and think about it in fairness, because the other contestants had that thinking time as well. Then I'm going to invite you up and you've got to give me the right answer. Here's the question. What nationality was explorer Vasco da Gama? Very impassive, very controlled. Still think you've chosen right.
Worried sick.
Daniel, it's time for you to enter a lion's den of David's making. Come and face your question. Would you have chosen, Daniel, do you think, had you had a choice of opponents?
Difficult to say.
Daniel, you need to get this one right to stay in the game to have a crack at my £4,000. Feeling confident?
Yes.
Ish.
Ish.
Could still be bluffing though, couldn't he? David needs you to get this wrong.
Yeah.
If you get it right, he's out. Take your time. What nationality was explorer Vasco da Gama?
I'm certain it's not Spanish. And it's not Italian sounding.
How are you feeling now, David? Don't give anything away.
Reasonable.
Daniel, what nationality for the final place in the next round was explorer Vasco da Gama?
I think it will be Portuguese.
If Vasco da Gama was Portuguese, you're through to the next round.
Okay.
If you're wrong, you're out.
Okay.
The answer is Portuguese. Daniel, you are right. Which means you take the final place in the next round. And David, Commiserations, but I'm happy to say you're out. And well done to all 6 of you for getting this far. You've managed to eliminate your opponents, either because you're good judges of character, you're clever, or maybe you're just lucky. But let's hope you've been paying attention to everybody else's strengths and weaknesses, because now it's time for you to go head to head with each other. And of course with me, because if none of you lot win, I put £4,000 in my pocket. Otherwise, I get nothing from this show. So, I hope it's no win, no fee for you, as we all take one step closer to that money. And in round 2, things get decidedly trickier. Judgment of character is now crucial. You've got to choose an opponent before hearing the question. I then read that question and, to stay in the game, you tell me whether your opponent is going to get it right or wrong. As always, we start by randomly choosing one of you. Who's a good judge of character? Who's going to be up first to pick an opponent? And it's going to be Pete. Pete, join me now and choose your opponent. Pete, it's very simple. You seem to be a good judge of character in the first round, so you've got to pick an opponent you've sussed out, you've got the measure of. I then read that person a question, and you tell me whether they're going to get the answer right or wrong. Who do you think's going to give you the best chance of getting my £4,000?
I'm going to choose Helen.
Helen, he thinks he's weighed you up and got the measure of you. Join us and face your question. Helen, as ever, you've got to get this question right to stay in the game. Before you answer, Pete's got to tell me whether you're going to get it right or wrong. Take a look at her. Here's the question. In which country is Mount Kilimanjaro? Why did you pick Helen? Maybe it's because you're impressed by her intelligence and you're putting your faith in her.
Partly that.
Yeah? Is Helen going to get this one right or wrong?
I believe she'll get it right.
Yeah, okay. Helen, you need to get it right to stay in the game. But if you get it wrong, I'm delighted, because you're out and Pete's out, and I'm 2 people closer to £4,000. In which country is Mount Kilimanjaro?
Africa?
It's on the continent of Africa. The answer is Tanzania. Helen, I'm afraid you're wrong.
Oh, right.
Which means, Helen, because you're wrong, you're out. Pete thought you were going to get it right, so Pete's out as well. I'm happy to say, sit down, you are both out. And it can be as quick and as brutal as that. £4,000 at stake. Who's up next? This time around, it's Vivian, who answered very quickly in the first round. Vivian, join me now and choose your opponent. Just 3 people to choose from, 3 men. Who can you read best? Howard, Neil, or Daniel?
I'll go for Neil.
Neil, it's your turn under the hot lights. Join us and face your question. What is it that appealed to you about him?
I don't know, it was a difficult choice. They all look fairly confident.
You feeling confident, Neil?
Extremely.
Neil, as ever, you must get this answer right to stay in the game. Vivian, what you've got to do is simple. Predict whether he's going to get it right or wrong. Here's the question. What number lies between 17 and 15 on a dartboard? Does he look like somebody who spends time in pubs? Plays darts?
I think he does, actually.
Yeah, he's going to get it right, you're right. No question, he knows this. Look at him, he knows this. But then I would say that, wouldn't I?
You would.
Because if you say he's going to get it right and he gets it wrong, he's out and you're out too, and I'm much happier. Don't let me influence you.
I think he's going to get it wrong.
You think he's going to get it wrong? Got no faith in you, Neil. You've got to get this one right, Neil. What number lies between 17 and 15 on a dartboard?
Well, I think it'll be a number in the single digits. I'm going to say 2.
If 2's the right answer, Neil stays in and Vivian's out. If he's wrong, Vivian, you stay in the lineup. Well, the answer is 2, so you are right, Neil. Which means, Neil, you are still in the game. And Vivian, commiserations, but I'm happy to say, sit down, you're out. 4 of us left. 3 contestants and me. Who's up next to pick an opponent to try and get my £4,000? And it's going to be Daniel. Join me now and choose an opponent. A couple of choices, and the choice is yours, Daniel. Howard or Neil? Who can you read best?
Howard.
Howard, even though you've got a difficult face to read, he wants to chance his arm and his chance at £4,000 on you. Join me and face your question. Why Howard?
The way I figure it is if I could possibly knock Howard out, then I might be able to read Neil a bit easier.
So you think you're going to go for the tough nut first and then go to the easy meat, which is Neil. He's paying attention. Howard, as ever, you have to get the answer to this question right to stay in the game. If you're wrong, you're out. But before you answer, Daniel has got to tell us whether you're going to get the answer right or wrong. Very simple. Here's the question. For which London constituency did actress Glenda Jackson become the MP in 1992? He looked away. Does that tell you anything?
I'm still weighing up. I think Howard looks like a chap who studies the papers. I think he understands who is in which constituency, although it does get confusing because there are so many as well. If I'm honest, I think he's going to get it wrong.
You think he's going to get it wrong?
Yeah.
If he gets it right, you're out of the game.
Sure.
If he does get it wrong, he's out of the game. Either way, one of you is sitting down after this, losing a chance at £4,000. Howard, for which London constituency did actress Glenda Jackson become the MP in 1992?
To be honest, I don't know, but I've got something at the back of my mind that tells me what I think it is. So I'm going to go for that. It's probably wrong, but I'm going to say Bromley.
Bromley. If Bromley is the right answer, Howard, you stay in the game. If you're wrong, Daniel stays in. And it's Daniel versus Neil and me for £4,000. The right answer is Hampstead and Highgate. Howard, you're wrong. Which means, back in line, Daniel, you're still in the game. Howard, commiserations, but I'm happy to say you're out. Our random lights are flickering. Only 2 contestants left. Me as well, of course, making 3 in the running for £4,000. But who's going to answer a question and who's going to predict? We're going to find out. This time, Neil is first up, but he has no choice of opponent. It's got to be Daniel. So for £4,000, will you please both join me? This is it then, guys. We'd all like £4,000. Only one of us can get it. Daniel, I'm going to ask you a question. You have to give me the right answer. Before you answer, Neil has got to predict whether you're going to get it right or wrong. A lot resting on this. Here comes that question. Who was the first divorcee to become US president? First thoughts are sometimes best thoughts. What are you thinking?
My immediate thought is he's not going to know it. I'm unsure.
What makes you think he might not know it?
Divorce is more of a sort of a family environment type thing, or what used to be anyway. Daniel looks a bit young, be family man at this stage.
Right, so he wouldn't register with him even?
Possibly not.
Okay, we need to know whether you think he's going to get it right or wrong.
I think he's going to get it wrong.
You think he's going to get it wrong? Daniel, if you do get it wrong, Neil has won £4,000. If you get it right, you've won that money. Either way, I can't win. I'm going to go home empty-handed. No win, no fee for me. Here we come. We need your answer. Who was the first divorcee to become US President?
Okay, this is a difficult question. I'm not bluffing now. I did study politics at university, and American politics was one of my subjects as well, but it's one that I wasn't very good at, unfortunately. I'm thinking possibly JFK, but I think that's probably the obvious answer as well. I know he was quite a ladies' man, so it wouldn't surprise me if he was married first. Then the other option in my mind is Abraham Lincoln as well. For some reason, I don't know why, but I'm pretty certain he was in a wheelchair. But I might be wrong about that as well. I'm just trying to think of all the different presidents. They're all rogues, aren't they, really?
Daniel, I don't want to push you, but I'm going to have an answer.
Okay, I'm gonna go with JFK.
If John F. Kennedy is right, Daniel, you've won £4,000. If you're wrong, that money goes to Neil. The answer is Ronald Reagan. Daniel, you are wrong. Which means, commiserations, Daniel, you came a long way. Sit down, you're out. And well done, Neil, you have won £4,000. A lot of money, and I'm getting absolutely nothing. But you don't feel bad about that, do you?
Not at all.
Congratulations.
Thanks,
You've been
Bob.
watching No Win, No Fee. A big win for Neil. Who's going to get the money next time? Join us and find out.